What's up guys, it's the Disc Golf Chemist bringing you another video. Today I'm doing my end of summer, beginning of fall in the bag. It's going to be a lot different than the last in the bag I had. I threw a lot of disc graft back then, now I'm not really throwing any, and I have a lot more AGL and just a couple other discs mixed in. So yeah, let's get started. Starting off with my Manzanitas. I carry 3. So the first one is my putting Manzanita, woodland plastic, pretty beat up, great feel in the hands, has a consistent fade while I putt, so I can trust putting it on hyzer and know that it'll finish a little bit into the basket on my hyzer putt. I have a little bit of a push spin, so it works really well for me. I like the feel in the hand, and it really forces me to putt with confidence and to just trust that it's going to go in and not kind of short arm it, because if I don't give it everything, it's going to end up short. So yeah, the Woodland Manzanita. And then I carry a new Woodland Manzanita. This is my approach disc right now. Very overstable. I like throwing it on some touch and hyzers. I let it fight back and just finish soft on the ground. This has been my go-to approach disc as of now for anything that's not crazy overstable. Absolutely love it, but yeah, that. And then my last approach Manzanita is my Woodland Hemp, which is the first one I ever got of the Manzanitas. Absolutely love it. You can probably tell it's crazy warped. Really good feel in the hand. This plastic is super grippy and just works really well. This is like my old trusty, if I need a shot to stick on the ground or I just need to trust some overstability but a straight flight, I'll pull out my Woodland Hemp Manzanita and give it a rip. This thing has done so much work for me, and I'm going to keep it in the bag until it doesn't fly well. Moving on, we have 2 Ponderosas. My first Ponderosa is a Woodland Ponderosa, which is very warped now. This thing is one of the best feeling woodland plastics I have ever felt, or honestly it's probably the best feeling plastic I've ever felt, ever. And this thing is just money. Crazy understable now. I can throw it on a lot of hyzer and flip it up, let it even drift over right. It just likes to turn over on me. Great for anything that is super touchy, or if I'm awkward footing, I can trust I can throw it on hyzer, and even with not a lot of power, it's going to flip up to flat or even flip up turnover. So it's been a great disc for me. It's been hard getting used to how understable it seems to want to be, but it's something to have in the bag, and I love throwing it. Now we have my newest Ponderosa, which I actually dyed myself. This is an Alpine Ponderosa, so a little more stability. I can throw this thing on a little bit of hyzer, get it to flip up, and then at the end of the flight it is going to have some finish, but it'll hold all the angles you want it. It's a very stable, just straight disc. It'll hold my hyzers. If I put it on steep enough, it'll hold hyzers and slowly pan to flat. Right now I'm really loving it. It'll be really nice once I beat it a little bit and kind of work a little more, but as of now it's just a great stable putter for me, and yeah, just been doing some work. Next we have an approach disc, the Glow Madrone. I just picked this up pretty recently, so I don't have a lot of work with this, but the glow plastic is super stiff and just super hard, so I really like it for my forehand. I used to throw a lot of zones, but switching over to the Baobab, as you guys will see later, they kind of made it obsolete, and I kind of missed a shot that I can throw flat or a little bit of angle and get a little further. So I thought I would try this Glow Madrone, and so far it's been working really well. I just like the plastic because it kind of feels similar to like the ESP zones I had. It's not as gummy as the Manzanitas, and the Madrone is still just overstable enough, especially in the glow plastic, to hold those lines and fight back. Yeah, it's just a great overall disc. I know a lot of people like putting with the Madrones. I didn't like it, but so far I've been enjoying this for my putter flick approach shots. And we'll go to my last putter, which is a BT Hard Maiden. I've had this thing in my bag for a really long time. Honestly, since my last in the bag, I put it in pretty quickly after that and have just been loving it. It is really beat up, flies really straight to understable. It's weird because I can throw it on a lot of hyzer. I'll get a really late flip up, even a little bit of drift, but it always wants to come back unless I completely just put max power. Then it'll just keep gliding to the right. But most of the time I can throw this thing on any angle, and I know there's going to be a little bit of a finish towards the end. which is a really nice addition. I'm kind of hoping my Ponderosa, the Alpine Ponderosa, will take its place someday, but as of now, I'm keeping my Hollow Knight BT Hard Maiden. Next, we'll go to approach discs, purely approach, which is the Woodland Baobab. This thing is absolutely money. I bought it kind of worried that it was going to be too overstable and just not usable, and I was just going to stick with zones, and this thing was just going to sit in my closet all for the rest of its life. But once I picked it up, I knew this was the disc for me. Feels great in my hand for a forehand, feels great for a backhand, crazy overstable, but it's still very workable when you're throwing it for approaches and short, under 200-foot shots. I absolutely love it on just a touch, either hyzer forehand or just the touch and hyzer, and it just fights out really quick and ends up, it sits on the ground really well, better than honestly any overstable approaches I've ever thrown. Usually I'll get rolls with my zone or it skips really far. This thing really likes to sit. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like you don't have to throw this thing hard and it'll go 150 feet, 200 feet, and that's it. The harder you throw it, the less it's going to glide. It just wants to get down, and if you can learn how to use it to your advantage on those short approaches, this thing just does absolute work. Next up are my mids. I only carry 2 as of now, which I think is going to change because I need something a little more understable. First off, I have a Woodland Magnolia. This thing I got from my buddy Kyle, or at Disc Golf Noob on Instagram and potentially YouTube. But he gave this thing because I was looking for one that was very beat up, because I wanted something that I could flip up to flat or just trust that it's a little more understable, and boy did he deliver. I felt bad taking it or getting it from him just because I know this was from his bag, I'm pretty sure, or he spent a lot of time beating this thing up, but I have been loving this thing. I really enjoy the feel of Magnolia, but it's always a little bit too overstable for my liking. I would like it to be just a little bit less, so it's a little more workable, and with it beat up this much, it definitely is that perfect workable, stable mid-range. It still is going to finish hard and finish consistently, but you can get some flip on it. You can get a little bit of straight flight a little longer before it starts to finish on you. So here's my beat up Woodland Magnolia, and I have a brand new Woodland Magnolia that is just my overstable Magnolia. I can throw it flat, it'll hold a little bit, hyzer very hard. I can put it on hyzer, it's going to hyzer hard, and if you throw it on anhyzer, it's coming out and finishing. Love the feel of Magnolia. If you haven't tried it, definitely give it a shot. It is a great mid-range for a lot of people. Definitely a little more on the overstable side, but not crazy overstable. Definitely usable, and I think a lot of people like it. Moving to my fairways, we'll start with these 3. Most understable, I carry an Opto Fury. This thing is just your roller, crazy hyzer, turnover, long glide to the right, just get a jail card. I absolutely love it. Don't throw it as much as I probably should, but anytime I need something that's crazy understable, I'm going to reach for my Opto Fury. Next up, we have the Infinite Centurion in the iBlend plastic. This thing, I didn't mesh with it right away, but once I really started throwing it, I found that this thing does some work for me. I live in an area that has a lot of wooded courses, so you need to be able to hyzer flip, get things turning over, throw all sorts of shots on all sorts of lines, and the Centurion is a great disc to really carve the woods apart with. It flips up for me, it flips over if I throw it on flat lines. It just has anything I could ask for. It's a 7-speed, so it's very controllable and goes still pretty far. But yeah, if you need something, if you're looking for something that's a little slower, that you can really control, you can really flip over, you can hyzer flip to flat and just glide for days, check out the Centurion. And then we got my Alpine Sycamore. This disc is something that I really enjoy throwing, but I don't find myself reaching for a lot, and I really need to find exactly what slot this disc goes for, because I think my locusts kind of overshadow it sometimes, but this really has its own place. It's a slower speed, so it is a little more controllable, and you can do more with it, but it still has a very consistent fade on it. Nothing crazy hard, but enough to trust that it's not going to flip over or turn on you. As of now, this thing will go straight. It's not going to flip over on me at all in the flight. It's not going to turn up, even get any drift. It literally is going to hold dead straight and finish, which sometimes is really nice because with the locusts, you can beat them up and they start flipping up on you. But yeah, AGL Sycamore. Next, the favorite mold in my bag, I would say at least Fairway Drivers, the Locust. First off, I have my X-Out Alpine, which is purely forehand locust. It is very flat, which I like for my forehand. It's a good speed. I can definitely get it up to speed, and I can throw it very straight with my kind of garbage forehand. So this is something that it overshadows a little bit of my problems, but when I'm throwing well, it will fly great, and I just carve anytime I need a forehand. I'm reaching for this just to do some work. My favorite locust is this polar lichen. I dyed it myself, and this thing is understable for a locust in my opinion, but still just absolutely amazing. It has some finish at the end, but you know you can trust to get a little bit of a flip up or get some drift over to the right. It does everything you'd want out of a fairway driver, and it glides for days, goes so much farther than all my other drivers. So this is something I use very often whenever I need a consistently straight, or I need something to kind of drift over and come back on me. I could almost throw this to replace all my distance drivers. It goes that far, and yeah, loving this polar lichen. So the last locust I have in the bag is my lichen locust, which runs a little more overstable. Not as overstable as I'd like, but it definitely has a lot more bite than my other two. So this is something I'm reaching for if I want to throw flat and get a little more finish and no turn or no fade at all, or not fade, no high speed turn, sorry. But yeah, love the feel of this. It's absolutely gorgeous. Love the gold stamp with the gold and blue flakes inside. Couldn't say more about the locust. My absolute favorite fairway driver. Now we're going to move to distance and utility discs. For my only utility disc, I would say, is the Flare from Streamline. This thing is crazy overstable. Flies a little further than my Baobab, so if I need something to get a little more distance than my Baobab, but I want that crazy overstability, reaching for the Flare, or if there's some crazy headwinds, you know, I can reach for it. Starting with my most understable distance driver. My Infinite Discs Faro. Dyed it myself. I blend, which is probably my favorite plastic from them. I haven't really tried the S blend yet, which might take the spot, but I really like the I blend because it's not only durable and feels really great, but it's also in a decent price range. It's not crazy expensive. This thing is very understable for Faros. I had a different one and it was a little more usable. This guy really likes to flip up and get over and maybe finish if there's a little bit of a tailwind or I get enough hyzer. But it'll go for days if I throw it right. It can be touchy sometimes. It just flies far. I don't know what else to say. Check out a Faro if you're slower arm speed, because this thing bombs for me if I'm in the right conditions or throwing it well. The other one I lost flew a little better just because it was more consistently a little more stable. But yeah, even this still goes so far for me. Next up is the Kona Emperor. I absolutely love this disc. I think this is the perfect distance driver for my arm speed. I can get this thing flip up a little bit to flat and just ride straight for days and always finish. I was really looking for something that wasn't super understable, but I could trust in a little bit of wind, and I found that the Emperor was. I can throw it on anhyzers on massive lines and just get crazy distance. But this is something that I can do almost everything I need out of a distance driver with this disc. And that's something I was really hurting to find a long time ago as I was getting better and my arm speed was increasing. If you haven't thrown an Emperor, honestly, I think it's a great disc. I think it's slower than a Destroyer, but will fly just as far for a lot of people. And if your arm speed can't handle a Destroyer, I think an Emperor might be the way to go. The last disc is this AGL Cedar. Straight up beefy. It's Alpine plastic. Dyed it myself. Didn't come out as well as I'd like, but still came out decent. Yeah, there's nothing else to say other than this thing is just beefy. A lot of people like throwing overhands with it. I like throwing spike hyzers. Anytime I need something, just hook left, get a good little skip, and give me a consistent finish. It flies exactly the same way every time, and that's overstable. If you have a pretty poor forehand or just a very good fast forehand, the Cedar might be really nice for you because it's going to fight that torque you're creating, and if you're rolling your wrist, it's going to fight it out. I don't really like throwing it just because I don't get great distance. My forehand isn't great, but it also isn't so bad. I need something this overstable to fix it. So it's mostly just a hyzer backhand for me. Not very often will I use it, but there are definitely some shots that I enjoy having my AGL Cedar. Well, that's all. Nothing else really in my bag. You know, just a mini, just some towels. I don't really carry much with me on the course other than my discs and my water bottle. So thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions about any of the discs I'm throwing or where to find them, most of those AGL discs you can find on agl.com. Definitely go check them out. I think it's a great company, super small, amazing community, doing some awesome things. really pushing to grow them because I think they're coming out with some of the best plastic. I absolutely love throwing their discs. Hopefully one day we'll get that premium Manzanita because I could use it. But for now, I'll stick to what I'm throwing. Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button. If you guys enjoyed, comment anything you want to see in the future, any questions or anything you think I should throw, what I should check out. And yeah, peace.